One of the biggest problems I see a lot of writers make, and especially new freelance writers, is overcomplication. They believe, and this could be the writer making this decision, it could be the editor coming back to you and saying like, oh, we need it to sound a little more sophisticated. It needs to be a college level type piece. But that overcomplication, they're using a complex vocabulary, very intricate grammar structures and syntax and all of this sort of stuff, might make you feel like you're very clever, but it achieves the opposite in the eyes of your audience. It's confusing. It often reminds me when you read, especially the opening, and the opening is one of, if not the most important areas of anything that you write, because it's in that first couple of seconds that somebody will make a decision on whether to read the rest. If you look at heat maps of any sort of blog articles, landing pages, whatever, there's usually about a 50% drop off on the first screen that people see. That means 50% of the people who click through from your headline to read the copy will never scroll down, not even one line, 2 lines. A lot of the time it's due to overcomplication of copy. I won't get into this too deeply, but it's to do with the way our brains are wired. The limbic system makes quick decisions for you, and it's been the core of our decision making capabilities since way back in the day. It's a prehistoric part of the brain really, and it makes decisions based on emotion. So happiness, sadness, anger, fear, whatever. It'll make a snap decision, and then the prefrontal cortex, or grey matter, that kicks in after the decision has been made to rationalise why that decision was made. Now, if you overcomplicate your copy, that immediate decision part of your brain, the limbic system, is going to look at it and go, this is too much effort, I don't want to read this. Or, if you don't communicate the benefit quickly enough, it's going to say, this doesn't have what I want, let's go somewhere else. And it will just run away. The user will run away and find what they need somewhere else where they can get it a lot quicker. I've got some examples to go on to later, which we're going to go through very shortly. But it's what you're aiming for when you write is a very clear, concise message. You want to know exactly what it is you want to communicate, and you want to know why that's beneficial. Why that's beneficial to the user, to the end reader, and how you can communicate that message to that reader in terms that they're going to understand. If you can do that, then they will read the first sentence, and if you do a good job in that first sentence, they'll read the second, then the third. It's not as difficult as it sounds, as I'll go through very shortly, but I just really want to reiterate, yes, using long 3, 4, 5 syllable words in your copy, using very complex grammatical structures might make you feel smart, but you end up sounding a bit like Joey from Friends when he used the thesaurus to write that letter for Monica and Chandler's adoption agency.
Right. What was this sentence originally?
Oh, they are warm, nice people with big hearts.
And that became, they are humid, prepossessing Homo sapiens with full-sized aortic pumps.
Just sounds pretty ridiculous, really, but back to the point. Keep it simple, keep it clear. Communicate very quickly, concisely, the benefit of reading, whatever the people are reading. Keep them engaged by hitting on those emotional triggers that will keep the limbic part of the brain engaged and wanting to read more. Don't fall prey to thinking that big words mean that you're smart. No one cares how smart you look. What people care about is whether what you're writing is going to help them solve a problem, buy a product, whatever. So keep it simple, straight message. Anyway, I've got a couple of examples. I've got a good copy example and a bad copy example. We're going to start with the bad copy, and all identifying information has been redacted to protect the guilty. But here we go. So have a look at this. Both pieces of content are on case studies. I tried to keep them both on a similar topic so that it's not, apples to oranges, because apparently you can't compare fruit. Let's have a quick look here. So I'm going to click through onto this site, and I'm going to, case study writing, whatever. I'm looking for somebody to help me with some case study, case study writing. Jeez, let's get there. And if I read this one, I'm going to end up looking like this poor bloke here who looks so confused. But anyway, feels like she's bullshitting and this guy's like, what is she talking about? Anyway, let's have a look at this. It is always a strategic decision to let your prospective clients know how you were able to pull off a seemingly impossible and strenuous task. It can help them understand that you are the best people for their job. Having realised this importance of case studies in marketing your service forte brings you an array of diverse case study writing services that can present the cases in the most convincing and engaging manners to the clients. As reliable business case study writing services in India, we have catered to the requirements of businesses hailing from diverse industries, verticals and quarters. This experience has instilled in us the required capability and preponderance to craft business case studies in such ways that it helps the clients realise your potential and service proficiencies. So let's choose, what colour should we use for this? Let's go for blue. The key messages here, I mean, this is 2 full paragraphs of copy, right? And the key messages that they're trying to communicate. Some of the best people. Basically, the case studies help customers understand you're the best person for the job. It's a demonstration of your abilities in whatever you do. So that's like 1. Sorry. Instilled in us the required capability and preponderance to craft business case studies. So this is kind of the second message. What they're trying to say is that case studies help highlight you as an industry expert. We have a lot of experience in crafting case studies that help you achieve this. That's it. And it's taken them 2 paragraphs to communicate 2 very, very simple messages, 2 interlinked messages, which are in essence 1 longer message. You could cut out most of this, but I mean, let's keep highlighting. Actually, let's go back to red. Just always, when you have the opportunity to choose, when you're going through your word choice, try and choose the most simple word. That part of your brain that makes these emotional decisions is not an analytical part of your brain. It is, I heard somebody explain it once as, the fear response. If there is a tiger coming at you, you don't go, now hold on, let me analyse this situation. That tiger has claws, it has teeth, it looks hungry, it looks angry, it's going to come running at me, it's going to bite me and I might die. That emotional part of your brain is going to go, shit, tiger, run. Later on, your analytical part of your brain will go, it's probably a good decision. Because, you saw the size of the fucking claws on that bad boy. Don't confuse this very emotional part of your brain. Make things very, very simple to understand. Get to the point quickly. Don't try and demonstrate how clever you are through convoluted word choice. There you go, dropped a big word in there. But just communicate the message, appeal to that emotional part, and let it make very quick decisions. Don't confuse it, which is what's happening here. Because you've got things like the strenuous. Even some other things like most convincing, engaging manners, this is just a mess. Capability and preponderance. All of these things can just be stripped right back to a much, much simpler word choice. There's always a strategic decision to let your prospective clients to pull off a seemingly impossible and strenuous. Why is the word difficult not going to be used there? Pull off a difficult task, an impossible task. You could cut that right down to just a single, easily understood word, and you can do it so far throughout. You could basically cut this down to 2 sentences to communicate the same message, and if you understood those key messages, you could tailor them to hit more of an emotional response with the user, which is exactly what happens in the good copy, which we'll get onto in a minute. Basically, this is a lot of copy. They're saying a lot, but communicating very little. It's the same point is repeated again and again in paragraph 1 and 2. it's just not really a very good example of how to write things. And I'm only going to do the opening here because to edit this whole thing or to provide suggestions throughout the whole thing will take an age, and I'm running out of tea. That's the last gulp. Our experience tending to even the most taxing requirements, handling difficult needs. You know, it's again and again, you can go through and you can just strip it back to very, very simple, very direct language. You're not here to appear clever from your word choice, as Einstein said, to paraphrase. What was it? If you don't understand it well enough, then you can't describe it simply, or, you know, basically, if you truly understand the topic, you should be able to describe it in the most simple terms. And that also helps with other people understanding. This is good advice whether you're writing to educate, whether you're writing to push people towards a sale, whatever. Whatever the goal is, keep it simple. Let's have a look at the good copy. Good copy is something that's featured on Copy Hackers, and it is written by Joel Kletke. Kletker? I always think it's Kletke, and it's sad that I don't know because I've seen him in many, many webinars. I should really pay attention. Dude's an incredible writer, wonderful. Copy Hackers, awesome website. Also this, just going back, I just read his headline, right? This is a really crap headline. It explains what happens, but there's nothing special about it. It doesn't hit any emotional needs. Whereas, let's switch to blue for good old Joel. I've helped create 150 case studies. Here's almost everything I've learned. Reminds me of that. What's the advice? There's 2 bits of advice you need to know to be successful in life. Never reveal everything that you know. But anyway, so here's almost everything. Much better headline. You know it's about case studies. You know you're going to learn. So here's almost everything I've learned. 150 case studies. So let's start up on the headline, right? Somebody who's done 150 case studies, you think, shit, this dude knows what he's talking about. This guy's got 150 case studies. He's obviously been in the trenches. He's done it all. He's seen the good, the bad, everything. Here's almost everything he's learned. So, one, this is like a little proof of his ability. Makes you want to... Let me write these down, actually. Let's turn it down. It's not really social proof. But I guess I always think people who are in the trenches doing the work have far more to teach than somebody who's just learned from a book. So to know that Joel has written over 150 case studies makes me think, wow, this guy really knows what he's talking about. Here's almost everything he's learned. This is a little tease that you are going to learn something. You are going to solve your problem because this guy's done 150 of them. If you're doing one case study, you're going to get the benefit. So this is a little... You're going to learn something new here, which is going to be the big emotional takeaway, that you're going to learn something new that's going to help you with your case study. That's just the headline. It's wonderful, marvellous. A story is up to 22 times more memorable than a fact. Combine both stories and facts or data together, you've got the ultimate sales tool. Here's how to add case studies to your Salesforce. I highlighted that when I took a screenshot, weirdly. Nice little stat at the thing to show that he's done his research. Ultimate sales tool. Do you know what? I'm going to remove that. This is what people want. In the first sentence, it's kind of hinting at the overall solution or takeaway. Within that first sentence, that emotional part of your brain that's going, is this worth my time? Am I going to get something out of this? Is this going to help me survive, thrive, whatever? The ultimate sales tool is what you're going to get learning about Joel's 150 plus case study process. Yeah, you know, that's going to make people want to read on because that is a benefit straight away. the fact that he's backed it up with some sort of data, I would like to see a link there, but it's still cool. It's awesome. Here's how to add case studies to Salesforce. So that kind of goes into more detail on that overall solution takeaway. But the thing is, Joel has communicated exactly what we said these guys needed. These guys, outline that you're the best person for the job. We have experience in creating them. In those 2 sentences, with the headline, Joel has also said, basically, they'll help you grow your business because they're the ultimate sales tool. And he knows how to do it because he's done 150 of them. So this tiny little bit at the top, including the headline, has communicated exactly the same as the bad copy. However, it's done it in a much more direct, much more understandable, much more effective way. I'm not going to go through the whole thing again because, again, it would just take forever. Creating case studies is like flossing. Everybody knows they should be doing it, almost nobody does, and when they finally do, it's a painful, bloody, but oddly rewarding experience that has them bound to do it again soon. These 2 little lines here, right? He's speaking to people who are probably having that thought where I know that I should be doing case studies, but there's a lot of work involved. You've got to draw plans, you've got to organise interviews with whoever you're doing the case study on, yada, yada, yada. And people know that it is beneficial, and he's hitting that. He's kind of making it seem as though he understands, which he obviously does, and that reading this is going to help you overcome those problems and questions that stop you from taking those case studies. It's a very well written opening. I do thoroughly enjoy this piece. It is great. There will be links again down in the bottom. But as you can see, really, the bit that we want to focus on is this opening here, which took 2 paragraphs, an ineffectual headline, and it was summed up in a headline and 2 sentences. The same message, much more concise, much more direct, much more persuasive. And there's no real difference in the message. It's just Joel has got right to the heart of it, and he's used a more of an emotionally driven message. It's not like highly emotional. It's not like some of the very hypey sales copy you see out there, but it hits on the pain points that somebody in the position who wants to hire somebody to do case studies would be feeling. It's a wonderful piece, and that's what you should be taking away from this is, as a writer, you're not going to be judged on your word choice. You're not going to be judged on how many words you write. What you're going to be judged on is the results that you generate. This is a much better way to generate results because it's speaking directly to the problems of the consumer. You don't need a lot of words to do that. If you understand them well enough and you understand the topic well enough, you can cut it down to the bare minimum and make a real impact in very few words. That's really it. So next time that you are writing something, try and cut it back. Try and understand. When you've written out this full long paragraph, you think, oh shit, that's too long. Go back and analyse that paragraph. Say, what is the main message I'm communicating here? Write it down as shortly, in as short form as possible, and then try and figure out why that matters to the reader. Couple those 2, why it matters, and the very short form, direct approach of what it is that you're trying to communicate. Write them into something, and you'll get something like this, especially this little bit here. Oh my god, there we go. This little bit here. It's perfect. That's what you should be using as your benchmark. That's it for today, and I will speak to you soon.